Stay tuned as we will be going live soon. To sponsor a show or advertise, call or WhatsApp 0763 593 288. Melo Media. Melo Media. Melo Media. Stay tuned as we will be going live soon. To sponsor a show or advertise, call or WhatsApp 0763 593 288. Melo Media. Melo Media. Melo Media.
Good evening, viewers, and where we discuss a range of topics on a range of issues that affect us in the society, be it as an individual or from whatever section of the society that you represent. Today we're discussing a very interesting topic, a very sentimental topic, and we feel a lot of people should get into the know and just get to understand candidly everything pertaining to this topic. And to discuss today's topic, I'm joined by Mwanza Changala, who's going to help us delve into the nitty-gritties of this topic. Mwanza, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So to kick-start the program, I'd like you to introduce yourself to our audience and also just tell us what capacity you are sitting in as we discuss this topic. Like, what qualifies you to sit here and talk to us about this interesting topic.
Okay, so my name is Mwanza Changala, as he said. I'm a mother of 4 children, and 2 of my children were born with a condition called sickle cell anemia. So because of my experience with my 2 children, I've decided to be talking about sickle cell, and I'm kind of an advocate for sickle cell. Yeah.
Interesting. So it looks like we're talking to the right person on this particular subject. So just to re-echo, today we're talking about a condition called sickle cell disease. Yeah. So what is sickle cell disease? For those of us who may not understand what it is.
Okay, so I'm not a medical person. I'm just a parent living with children that were born with sickle cell. So I'm going to explain in that view.
Okay.
So sickle cell is actually a condition that a child is born with. You inherit it from your parents, both the parents, and it's actually a red blood cell disorder that a child is born with. So it's actually a condition, it's not really a disease.
Oh, it's a condition. Okay.
It's a condition.
So you said it's hereditary.
Yes, it is.
You cannot just pick it up along the way. You have to be born with it.
You have to be born with it.
Okay.
And you get it from both the parents.
From both, not just one parent.
Not from one parent.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So from what you're saying, it means you and the father to the kids both have sickle cell.
We don't have sickle cell, but we have the gene.
You have a gene.
So in other words, we are both carriers.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm a carrier, and I didn't know I was a carrier until my children actually manifested with the same condition. So I'm a carrier, and the father to my children is also a carrier. So that's how come the children got it. If I can explain it a little bit in details.
Please, especially on the carrier part, because I may want to understand as well.
Yes.
Maybe some people want to understand who a carrier is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like in the genes, we all have certain things in the genes that they look at, like in biology, when you go back to our biology classes. So in sickle cell, there's AA, AS, and SS. So SS means that the person has got sickle cell, the genes of sickle cell, and then AS means that the person is a carrier, meaning there are some sickle cell genes in there, some trails of sickle cell, but you don't manifest sickle cell. Though there are a few people actually that can actually manifest sickle cell, like like a person who's living with sickle cell as a carrier, but those are really, really few people. And those are people that don't have anything to do with sickle cell. They don't have anything in their genes. So I have AS, and the father to my children also has AS. So the 4 children that we had, that we have, the first one and the last one actually got the A from me and the A from the father. So they've got AA, meaning they don't even have any traces of sickle cell. And then the middle 2 children got the S from me and the S from the father, and they were born with sickle cell. Yeah.
Interesting. I'm already getting enlightened because these are some of the things that you just see from a distance, and because it does not either directly affect you or you don't have anyone close to you who's affected, you just look at it as business as usual. And just
Actually, that's why I decided to be talking about this, because that was the same with me. I come from a big family. We are 9, and I'm the 9th in the family. And none of my siblings actually have anything to do with sickle cell, not even with their children. So for me, when my children were diagnosed, actually, I went in denial because my whole family also didn't accept it. They said it should be a mistake, go for second opinion. So because of that, I started believing that it was a mistake. And apparently, until we did another test at UTH, that's when the doctor explained to me how sickle cell comes about. So I would like people, especially in our region, because sickle cell is not found in all the countries in the world. It's only found in certain countries, especially Africa, Mediterranean, and a bit of India. And also India is only one region of India. So it's not all over. So because of that, there's nothing much that is being done with sickle cell. Yeah.
That's totally new to me. I actually thought it wasn't a regional thing.
It's actually, and it's actually mainly Nigeria. Nigeria has the biggest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you growing up, you did not know that you were a carrier until you had kids and they were diagnosed.
Yeah. Growing up, I had no idea about sickle cell. If anything, I remember when I was in grade 7, there was a girl in our class that came in. She had sickle cell. She had just repeated, and everyone was saying, "No, don't play with her because she's going to die soon." And that's what we knew about sickle cell. Children don't grow up; they die. So we were shunning her, but eventually I made friends with her. And apparently she died, and everyone was saying, yes, they don't grow up. It was expected for her to die. So that's all I knew about sickle cell. And then also growing up again, when I was much younger than grade 7, there was a Sunday school teacher who also died of sickle cell. And apparently she was 26 years old, and everyone was saying, no, she even grew. They don't reach 26. Yeah. So now when I was told my children had sickle cell, my mind went to, they won't grow up. Am I going to have only one child? Because that time I only had 3 children.
Yeah, that's actually what I was about to get to, because growing up as a person who doesn't have it, and you have very limited knowledge about what it is and exactly what is involved in the condition. How did you? What was the reaction knowing that your kids may be subject to what may be true regarding the myths that we grew up listening to?
Yeah. When I remember the day that I was being told by the doctor, my mind just shut. I wasn't thinking at that time. It was like, I know about it. Whatever you're telling me won't make sense because I know my child won't grow up. And whatever, you're just trying to comfort me, but I know the truth, And the doctor was talking, but my mind was shut. I wasn't really listening. And I went on, as I said, for in denial for like 5 months. And in that period, both my children actually went in and out of hospital. And apparently, the hospital we're going to, there was always something that they would pick. They wouldn't really tell me it's sickle cell because they didn't really know it was sickle cell at that time. So my little boy was 5 years old. My little girl was about 3 years old when diagnosis came up. So you can imagine the 5-year-old boy what he went through.
So it wasn't discovered immediately they were born. It took time.
No, it wasn't discovered immediately, and yet they were in and out of hospital. Actually, even the way the diagnosis was done, I think, let me talk about it.
Yeah,
Is
sure.
that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so as I said, my boy was 5 years old, my girl was 3. At that time, my girl had been in hospital twice before. The first time we were told, I think it was malaria, which we never picked. So she was treated for malaria and came out of hospital. Then the time that she was about 2 years, 2 weeks before her birthday, she had stomach ache and backache. And it just came like suddenly. And later on in the night, she started vomiting. So I took her to the hospital in the morning. And when we took her to the hospital, they did the x-rays, they did the scan, and the doctors interpreted as intestinal obstruction, so which was an emergency to go to theater. So she went in theater, and she was in theater for over 3 hours. And when she came out, I was told, sorry, it was a wrong diagnosis. There was nothing wrong with the intestines, but we think she could have cancer of the stomach or TB of the stomach. And they did a biopsy. So the biopsy was sent abroad, and a week later, was it a week later, a month later, was it a week or a month later, the results came out, and they said there was nothing that they found. So we left it there hanging, and then that was a week later. Then a month later, she had the same symptoms. So I took her back to the hospital.
The same hospital.
The same hospital. It was a private hospital, one of the private hospitals, good private hospitals in Lusaka.
Okay.
So I took her back to the hospital, and the doctor looked at her and said, "This is the same thing that happened last time. So let me call the surgeon." The surgeon came in, and the surgeon is the one who said, "I'm not taking her to theater. I'm going to test her for sickle cell."
Was the same surgeon present when they did the first diagnosis?
He's the one who actually did the operation.
Okay.
Yeah. So now the surgeon is the one who just said, "No, let's test her for sickle cell." And then I looked at the surgeon, and to me, I got upset with the surgeon. I thought, why does he want to test for sickle cell? Whom does he think he is? And does he really think, does he really think I can have a child with sickle cell? So at that time, the father to my children is the one who said, "No, let them test, it's okay." So that's how they tested her, and the results came out after a week, and it was confirmed she had sickle cell. So when I told my family refused. They said, "No, it can't be true. Can you go for a second opinion?" So at that time, my son was already in and out of hospital. My son was actually sickly from the time he was like 9 months old. Yeah.
So who's older between the girl and the boy?
The boy is older.
The boy is older.
Yeah. So now the boy was 5 at that time. The girl now had turned 3. And the poor boy had about 3 blood transfusions before, and sickle cell was not picked still. So now, the time that I went in denial, the 5 months, both of them went in hospital. And much later, 5 months later, one of my friends just said, "You know what? He works in the lab at UTH." She just said, "You know what? Come with your whole family so that we test for sickle cell." Sorry. Okay. So now that's how we got tested. The father, me, and the children. There were 3 at the time. So that's how we got tested. And then when the results came out, the doctor started drawing the genes and whatever and explaining. And I was thinking at that time, why is he wasting his time? I'm not interested. I don't want to know all that. So after that, that's when he told us that actually there was carriers in the family. There was people living with sickle cell, and there was somebody who was free from sickle cell. And when he said that, to me, I just thought, well, okay, my daughter, that must be confirmation she's got sickle cell. But for my son, I never thought about it. And then when he taught us in South, and that really broke my heart. Yeah, and it was very hard actually to accept. And until later on, I reached a point of acceptance. I reached a point of telling myself I need to know what this sickle cell is. And I started reading a lot about it. I would go on YouTube, I would go on Google, I would ask a lot of questions. And they told us you have to be coming to the hospital often just to have a checkup. I started doing that a lot, and we started going to a public hospital, UTH, because now we were told our lifestyle has to change because with sickle cell you're going to be in and out of hospital. You can't avoid that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So so
The
everything
expenses at the private
changed.
hospital.
Yes.
So now, I'm prompted to ask from what you have explained. It took because your daughter by then was 5.
Was 3. The
Was
boy
the
was
boy was
5.
5?
Yeah.
So now it took them so long, even after being in hospital for
In and out of hospital.
in and out of hospital for a number of times. It took them so long to finally get to make the proper diagnosis. Would you say this does not mean to discredit, but then we just want to understand? Would you say now our hospitals are properly equipped to detect this condition at an earlier stage? Because I'm just thinking, if imagine if we went ahead and did all those surgeries and all those things and something went wrong when they were doing the wrong thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just say they are now properly equipped to detect that kind of a condition at an earlier stage.
Actually, over time, we are getting there. We're getting better in hospitals. But at the time, because my daughter is now 12 years old, so that was how many years ago? About 7 years ago. 7 going to 8 years ago. Things have changed. There's been a lot of improvement in the diagnosis and the treatment of sickle cell. We've actually, because I've been working also with the MOH, the Ministry of Health, on these sickle cell issues, and also with doctors. So we've actually done a sickle cell guidelines, clinical guidelines, which is actually being taken in all hospitals in Zambia, and we've also done we did a launch to the newborn screening because we didn't have the newborn screening. We had to wait until the child was over 6 months, and 9 months was the best. So you had to wait for over 9 months. That's when you get tested. That's when you get to know what's wrong with the child. But now we are able to know at birth. Yeah, so that's a very big improvement. And also, we are now working on bringing in the thing that will actually be able to test a pregnant woman so that a baby in the womb can be tested and actually a diagnosis can be made.
That's a big milestone if that's the case, because I got concerned that it took so long.
Yeah.
So having done, you obviously mentioned that you're not a medical personnel, but because you are affected by this condition. So having done research, having worked with people who are qualified to work on these conditions, would you like to tell us what sort of symptoms are there, or what sort of things when you see a child who's kind of inflicted by a certain ailment should look out for them to be prompted to test for sickle cell?
Yeah, for babies, parents should look out for swelling in the fingers and also the toes, and also crying a lot, because the main thing that comes with sickle cell is actually pain crisis. So the pain crisis is actually very painful. It's excruciating pain. So a child may be crying more, and then also the child may look pale because they don't really have enough blood. They are usually anemic. Their HB is usually lower than the normal. So you look out for the child skin color. You look out for the eyes. because sometimes again the eyes may be yellow. Yeah, so parents should look out for that. And then when they see those symptoms, and also when a child is not well and the child goes to hospital, usually children with sickle cell are going to have raised white blood cells. Yeah, because they are prone to infections, so they can have infections at any time. And when you see all that, at least it can point. You should ask the doctor or the medical personnel to do a Sickle test, because you can't just do blood tests. You say no, we did full blood count, and the doctor said it's okay. You can't get sickle cell from there. I mean, you can't check if the child has sickle cell from there. You need to have a certain blood test.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And is there a particular stage? Is there a particular age? Is it 6 months, 3 months, or something, where these symptoms begin to manifest, or they can show up at any point?
Actually, they say above 6 months,
Okay.
common above 9 months, but there are some children that have met at UTH that actually have manifested even at 3 months, as early as 3 months. Yeah, because this is, I won't explain it very well, but this is because when a child is born, the child has got that fetal hemoglobin. Yeah. So now, as the child is growing up, the fetal hemoglobin is also like now.
Starts to deplete.
Yes. So at that time, that's when the sickle cell can actually show. Yeah.
Okay. So we believe you are locked in and listening to all these things, because sometimes, issues to do with babies are very sensitive, because the baby cannot tell you to say, this is how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
So it's important for you to look out for these issues that you have stipulated, and be prompted, if you can, to just ask the doctor to do a sickle cell test if they're exhibiting the symptoms that we have heard. Now let us talk about the kids themselves. How has it been when they're socializing? How has it been? Has there been any stigma from the friends, either from school, from church, or any other social gatherings? Because from what we have grown up knowing, a person with sickle cell is kind of apparent to some extent. You can be able to tell.
Yeah.
So what kind of how has been the response from the society?
My children, if you had to look at them, they don't really show the symptoms of sickle cell, except they're on the smaller side. Yeah, so they've always been like smaller among friends of their same age group.
By smaller, I mean stature.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like maybe a little bit shorter, a little bit thinner. Yeah. So I remember, but my daughter was born very big, and she only started losing weight when she was like 4 years old, when she started going in and out of hospital. So growing up, people, not their friends, but people like mothers, would usually make comments, would tell me, why is your child so small? Maybe you're not giving them enough food.
That's from a point of ignorance.
Yes.
When we do not know exactly what it is.
Okay. Maybe you're not giving them enough food, and they are very picky with food, so you have to be like very you have to play with food, like to attract them to eat, let them eat something small. So when you are doing that and they see you maybe giving them small portions, they'll tell you, why are you giving this little portion? This child is supposed to eat like this, without realizing that actually I'm fighting to make them eat something. So I had a lot of that from people. And also the other thing was, I was working. I had a full-time job. I'm no longer in full employment. But when I was working full-time employment, I would always be out of the office because my child is sick, because we are in hospital. And people started commenting. People started saying, no, it's too much. I think you just enjoy being out of work. We also tired. We also, every time your work is pending and things like that. So it was really, really difficult actually from people. And then the other thing was, my son and my daughter, the very ones that were born with sickle cell, are only 1 year, 5 months apart.
Okay.
So I decided to breastfeed my son until my daughter was born because my son was sickly. So I wanted him to have all the nourishments and everything. So people that got to know that I did that started whispering to say that the other child is sickly because she was breastfeeding when the child when she was expecting. You know those myths again. Yeah, so that was really hard again. And I remember I would always talk to the doctor. I would always say, you know what, it's very hard. This is what people are talking
So
about.
the prolonged breastfeeding was advised by the doctor.
He advised me, and he just said, you know what, just hide it. When you have to breastfeed, just hide. Go and breastfeed and let people not know that you're doing that. But you know, you can hide, but people can still get to know. Yeah. So there used to be a lot of such comments. And then when the children were growing up, at that time I had accepted the condition. So I started talking about it. And I decided to actually tell the children when they were young so that they understand their condition. So I think it has helped because my children talk about it, especially the girl. The boy doesn't really like talking about it, but the girl would talk about it. She would educate her, she would have friends at school. And because of that, the friends sympathize with her whenever she's sick. And the friends also help her to do the right things because sometimes they remind her, you know, you may get sick when you do that because she's told them the triggers, she's told them what sickle cell is, so that becomes easier.
Okay, so from the time the diagnosis was made, how have you before I get there, because from what you're explaining, I'm sensing stigma at some point.
Yeah.
A lot of stigma, especially from parents who are supposed to somehow know that this is what the condition is. What, because you're an advocate and advocacy is speaking for other people.
Yeah.
So in answering this next question, you might be speaking for other mothers who have undergone the stigma.
Yeah.
So how did that exactly make you feel, and how did you deal with the feeling of the stigma?
Actually, the feeling is not good. You feel lonely. You shun from friends because you don't feel you can trust any of your friends. You can even lose friendship. There are people that I've met because I do a lot of visitations. Also in UTH, we've got a ward for hematology, but mostly there are sickle cell children there. So I've found that some parents, some mothers will tell you, my neighbor doesn't know that I'm here because they keep laughing at my child. They keep saying, why is the child in and out of hospital? So sometimes I just pack the bags and tell them I'm going out of town. So you reach, actually it's a very lonely time because you don't know whom to talk to. And you know when you're having that, your child is not okay, you want love, you want support, but you can't really know whom to talk to because you're alone. You feel really alone. It's not a good feeling. Yeah, and I felt it as well. As I said, parents would talk, the mothers especially. I felt it at that time, but I feel for those ones that even hide the conditions of their children because we've got a lot of people that are hiding conditions of their children. Yeah.
So I think what prompts them to hide the condition is because it's not easily accepted in society.
Yeah.
And the reason it's not accepted is because people lack knowledge.
Yeah.
People lack understanding.
Yeah.
Because if they understood, they would know.
Yeah.
And I believe that's where we get to appreciate your work as an advocate.
Yeah.
So now I want you to do something very simple for me.
Okay.
I want you to look into the camera and just tell the people that discriminate and react negatively to conditions that they will not understand. Just want you to tell them in your own words to stop the discrimination before we move on to the next question. In your own words.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I would advise those that discriminate, and actually discrimination comes in a very subtle way. A lot of you may be talking without really knowing that you're discriminating. I would like to advise you that before you say something, think about yourself. How are you going to feel if you were in that condition? And then the other thing is, I mean, if you were in that circumstance, especially, and then the other thing is get to know what the world has, because sickle cell is not a crime. It's something that just comes, and the child is innocent. The child comes with it, and I think get to know what it is before you actually make your comments. There's a lot of things that are in this world, a lot of conditions, but I think let's learn more about them before we say anything to the parent, because it's not easy talking to a parent. Already the parent is hurting, and then your comments may actually just make it worse. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That was very encouraging, because sickle cell is just one of the segments of the many problems that people are dealing with.
Yeah.
We are fighting different battles every day.
Yeah.
So if we have people who come and press you backwards,
Yeah.
or just try to shrink your efforts and your energy and everything, we cannot overly emphasize how bad that is.
Yeah.
So if there are any people out there who discriminate any sort of condition, it may not be a health condition, it may not be something that we talk about all the time, but altogether, discrimination of whatever sort is bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so is sickle cell transmissible? Is it able to move or to be transferred from one child who has it to one who doesn't have it?
No, it's not.
Is it curable though?
Sickle cell has no cure, unfortunately, but there's one cure medically, which is bone marrow transplant.
Okay.
And bone marrow transplant is very expensive. And actually, my son had bone marrow transplant, and he's now healed. He's now cured.
So he no longer has a sickle
He
cell.
no longer has sickle cell.
Okay.
So maybe that we can talk about it another time. But
yeah.
So that's the only medical cure that we know.
Okay.
Bone marrow transplant.
Okay. So when you talk about your voice, your advocacy work, what exactly do you do? And have you packaged your work in any form so that you can take it out to the different masses?
The work that we do is mostly awareness, like we are talking about it. We also do educational talks, like in schools and in places where we are invited. And I also have a support group on WhatsApp. We meet once in a while just to encourage each other with the parents and also people living with sickle cell. So, and then we work with other advocates also in Zambia. And I've also authored some books on sickle cell. I've done them like fiction, and I've brought the stories down to Zambia because I want people in Zambia to actually know about it. So I've made my books into stories and living with sickle cell and what happens growing up until they grow up. And next year we are working on a magazine, and next year the magazine should be published, because the books, I realize that the reading culture is not so good in our country, but I think it's all over the world. Yeah, so I thought a magazine is going to reach a lot of people easily, because in the magazine I've gotten short stories from people living with sickle cell, fiction stories, and
pictorial depictions.
Yes.
Because that captures.
Yeah. Also on the children's corner, my daughter talks a lot about her condition, so she's also written something. So the magazine, we are hoping that it's going to be coming out every quarter, and we are hoping to actually distribute it all over Zambia, in all the 10 provinces of Zambia. And then, mostly really, that's what we're doing.
This has been really informative. I just came with my raw cell, I didn't want to do any research because I wanted to get it from you who's been in it. So thank you so much for joining us and helping us discuss this topic. Of course, this is just the first of the many different series that we'll have talking about, because it's a broad topic.
Yeah.
There's always so much to talk about.
Yeah.
So we hope we can catch you another time so that we can exhaust the other remaining parts of this topic. So we hope this has been informative. We hope you have learned. We hope your mind has been broadened and you've gotten to know a lot more about the topic of sickle cell disease. So thank you so much and join us another time.
Thank you for watching. To sponsor a show or advertise, call or WhatsApp 0763 593 288. Melo Media.